I come this night bearing gifts. And yet these gifts be not something out of my own munificence, not out of my own generosity, though God knows I should happily do so. No, no, these be the gifts that you've earned, that you have garnered, shall we say, in your larder, that you have accumulated over time. And so there cometh the moment of presentation, when one doth receive those things that one hath efforted for, we could say, done the right thing whene'er possible, in the face of adversity usually, in the face of some who might have been more comfortable, had you done the wrong thing, from your point of view, that is, not theirs. Very good, my friend. Well, 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 do excuse a rather mysterious form of address, but yet I have reasons why these things must be so. It's got everything to do with the mechanics of mediumship. If you must know, it involves ectoplasm, really, in that when one is working with that strange and mysterious substance, there be certain precautions one likes to take. And amongst these, certainly uppermost in our minds is the protection of the medium. So for this reason I ask that you just take your attention off of him and put it anywhere else. The reason for my rather bombastic request that you look at a picture of me, and do forgive me for that, is simply that it was told to me to do it. It wasn't I, really. I should never have done it. God knows. No, no, but one greater than I prevailed. As you know, these know your most intricate thought. And I, having got the clear message to give these things to you, not knowing, mind you, from whence it had come, I simply was quite willing to obey, for which reason I did visit the medium earlier this day. But now, you see, it cometh clear that it was the lovely one himself who wanted this thing done, and that he is the one that has put this thought in the medium's head. It wasn't I. It was my thought to keep your attention off of him. I was going to ask that the room be totally in darkness, that he might do it seance style. But instead, the Lord Aeolus said, no, better they look at you, at least your image last. And I said, as you wish, Lord, but why? He said, because it shall be through you that things will be transmitted. And very good. Well, then who am I to counter it, am I? So, friends, suffer my rather misshapen image, if you will. You know, what can I tell you? That old horse served me well. It isn't the body anyway, as you all well know. Very good, let us begin. What might possibly be the purpose of our speaking this evening, except those things that are relevant unto your lives, your affairs, your hearts, my dear friends, your sweet, sweet hearts. And herein I speak of something that at first herein might rather shock you. It's a wave that approaches and cometh with assuredness, and that wave has got writ large upon it the word insanity. Make no mistake, my friends, you're not entering a saner world. I'm afraid not. Not for a bit. Not for a bit. On the contrary, haven't you been able to tell by said happenings things that have been occurring around you? Look about. Can we say that people have been acting more sane? I don't think so. Not from the looks of your ragged auras, no. I see you've all been kicked about. And I speak not in criticism, believe me, but in sheer observation of the welfare of my brethren and comrades. My dear friends, acceleration must occur. You must know, of course, certain feelings, certain thoughts, thought forms, actions resulting from these. These cannot and do not exist save in lower frequency energy belts. So what is the solution? Well, obviously, get out of it. Accelerate. Get out of dodge, I believe is the way they used to put it on your American television. It means, quit the thing. Well, you can't all just quit your lives, can you? You can't all just up and go where? Where shall you go? If you happen to live in one of the most lovely and etheric places on the planet. So I say, my dears, what you do not have to do is worry of it, save to know what is occurring and what is afoot. And what is afoot is this, that acceleration is being caused, affected by the greatest mind that you have contact with in this sector of your universe. That all it takes is for 5 cosmic beings to focus on your planet and say, move a little faster. Oh, believe me, it shall. Hath the planet any power to resist? Certainly not. It is organic, alive, but quite, could we say, yet in the process of becoming. And planetary bodies, for the most part, though they have a certain degree of realization, the moment that you're speaking any real realization of the cosmic consciousness type, you're not so much speaking about the planet itself any longer. That's but the incarnation, the vehicle, the body. You're speaking of the one that inhabits it. You're speaking of the spirit, the being that is the ensouling factor of the planet, whatever it might be. Thus each planet hath its nature, you see, its qualities, just as you do. Just as you do. My dear friends, what is occurring here is that there shall indeed continue, for it will not begin, it's begun already, the acceleration of all things on this planetary body. What happens when people go faster than they have the skill to drive their vehicles? Well, guess what? They go off the road, don't they? Unless they are very skillful and very astute. So, my dears, what am I telling you? I'm afraid I'm telling you the worst. Mind you, I say it with a chuckle, for you'll all survive it, believe me. God bless you. However, best that you know at least what approacheth. And I tell you, it's insanity. I can't call it anything else. You've seen it. Look, look, look. You've seen it already, and I tell you, you have but seen the first zephyrs. The very first zephyrs of what shall be a tempest and a gale, I'm afraid. Oh, my dear friends, that is the form that karmic return is taking this time. It's an air sign, isn't it? We're entering that thing called Aquarius, aren't we? Well, well, well. Air is mental. It's the mental body we'll be dealing with here. The planetary mental body and the individual's mental body. And make no mistake, you've got one just as surely as you've got a physical one. And just as surely as the physical can get ill with a cold, as you would call it, so also the mental body hath its times and seasons of illness. And like the physical, it can be healed when properly attended to. I once took some training as a medical man. Indeed, I became a doctor. To what end? Only that I could help people's physical vehicles function better, that their souls might function fully. So you see, my dears, it's a matter of mental health we speak of here, not so much physical, though of course that shall have its consequences, naturally. So what am I talking about, eh? Bedlam? Yes, I'm afraid so. You shall see this, that as the acceleration begins, even your nearest and dearest, and I'm afraid I can't exclude anybody in this room, shall from time to time exhibit traits that you'll have to say, uh-oh, uh-oh, there it is, right in my own home. Meaning what? that sometimes those you least expect shall exhibit the symptoms, if you will, of insanity. When these things occur, and perhaps here we arrive at the heart of the discourse, pray, don't hold it against them, but do not be their victims either. Behold what is occurring. See it for what it is, and thank the dear Lord within you that you're not equally insane. Else you would not note it, would you? In other words, the insane seldom know that they are. Only the sane can mark upon insanity. So when you feel the vibrations of insanity, don't think you're being too critical. Don't think you're being too harsh. Now, mind you, you need not say it, eh? I should not want to walk up to a large fellow and say, look here, sir, you know, I realize you're insane, but you'll be better. Give it a fortnight, take good care, and meditate, perhaps, and you'll feel fine. I should not want to do that. I'm afraid I must bring up an incident that occurred right here in the confines of your lovely, lovely city. I'm referring to the unfortunate events that occurred at the Xerox building. My dear friends, that was a harbinger of things to come. I'm not speaking about, you know, everybody got to get you held up in a building somewhere and, you know, hold you hostage. But I am saying that that insanity that can be, shall we say, subconscious, subterranean, and suddenly pop up like the hole of the gopher or the bowl at an unexpected time and place, this you must, in a sense, anticipate as much as you can. You'll ever be surprised, anyway. So, my dears, come to know this, that when your nearest and dearest exhibit insanity, imbalance of the mental body, the first thing you'll want to do is ascertain to what degree that you, again, might be out of striking distance. For mind you, whilst they're in that state, consider them as one hysterical. They can do anything. You've got to be careful. You can't blame them. And don't leave yourself there thinking, oh, she'll respond to me, and then have her strike you or say something that's equally as shocking, and then have it cause a schism in your relationship. That's your fault. Learn to be good nurses, you understand? I'm not saying that if you're not already in the process of leaving someone's presence, you shouldn't continue to. Why ever did you begin the process, you see? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you've got to stay and hold her hand either. I am saying that if you have no such agreement with him, let us say when this thing began, you thought you were on good terms, you know. Hasn't it happened like that? I thought we were friends there. Suddenly you're, you know, acting quite rudely to me. Perhaps, what is it? What have I done? Especially when you can't think of a single thing you've done, and you've not. That's the thing. Don't waver when you feel that you've done nothing to warrant the treatment. For believe me, guilt shouts loud and long. If you've done something wrong, oh, believe me, you'll know it. And the moment the offended one speaks back, you'll almost want to fall to your knees and take the blow. But it won't be like that. And it hasn't been like that, has it? It's when you are insulted, slighted, ignored, whatever, and see no reason for it. You've done nothing. And suddenly someone you thought you were quite on good terms with is treating you like a stranger, or worse. This is what I'm saying. You simply ascertain. Take care, and if I were you, I should make a quick mental pass over my solar plexus area to put up a bit of a shield. Some of you might not need to do that. Fine, you're the fortunate ones. The point being, you desensitize, because normally you're quite open and sensitized to the ones you love, aren't you? I'm referring, my dears, don't forget, to not strangers in the street, for of these you shall have less and less to do, but instead those that are close to you. Yes. And obviously I'm not here to speak about anything that I shall incite, shall we say, paranoia. That's the last thing I should want to do, and then I come to speak of love, and love only. So no, don't be frightened when your loved one suddenly turns and snaps at you. Realize, got something here, red flag, you know. Not something you would say, my dears, kindly control your tongues. For I tell you, I see those amongst you should immediately want to try to use what I'm saying this moment, almost as a club. You know, ah, don't forget what he said now, you're acting just like that. You see, we can't do that, you can't do that, I forbid it. And you know I forbid very little. But that I forbid. Please. I couldn't bear that my words would ever be used to harm anyone. So please, don't do that. But do what you know is correct. I'm merely making a few simple suggestions to describe the phenomena itself and what you might do as it approaches, engulfs you, and then leaves you. For it shall indeed. This is not a permanent thing, my dears. You're not dealing with chronic insanity for the earth plane. I'm afraid not, thank God. So, you ascertain the degree. Again, don't forget, if one is insane, even temporarily, they'll not usually know it. They won't be watching, for that's one of the first things that goes. It's called the second attention. They'll not be able to note the effect they're having on others, which only of you who are truly sane will have that well developed. So what I'm saying to you is that they'll not know it, so don't expect them to. Don't expect them to know that they've hurt your feelings, please. And pray, don't be childish and take it personally. Try your best not to, please. We must work with noble men and women here. And as you know, dear ones, though you be few here physically in this room, as you well know, and if you don't mind, I generally like to employ such lovely settings as I'm using here, that I choose to employ this particular medium for this particular message, to reach others who are also here out of the body. So you've got quite the crowd here. So this is going out, not to mention it's been broadcast on what might appear to be astral airwaves. But to continue. Insanity is the return of karma. Insanity is the signal that somewhere, somehow, one has gone too far and now is going too far again, you know, but this time involuntarily. Yeah, you got that. Insanity is the imbalance of the mental body, which should, by its very definition, make clear that the person is not thinking clearly. Insanity is temporary. Always. Always. Please keep that in your memories. For do you know that if you can believe this, and I tell you it is the absolute truth, all insanity is temporary. You've got to believe it, for if you don't, you're believing in blasphemy, which is that a divine being can permanently lose track of itself or God. Doesn't happen. Insanity is that which you will encounter in your working cohorts. Insanity must be dealt with in this way, that you somewhat emotionally at least distance yourself, you can't always physically, from the source of the insanity, that you see it for what it is, or try to, that you call to the higher spiritual forces with which you have any contact at all, asking that they immediately locate the ones that are divinely ordained to help this particular soul. And believe me, everyone's got that. You've all got your emergency help systems. They vary, but they are all intact. You simply make a call, make a prayer, call it what you like, and ask that those particular beings whose assignment in cosmos is to help save this soul from making dire mistakes, that one and those ones come and immediately minister to the tormented one. You also might want to ask, if you have the mind, that any, shall we call them flies, I like to call them that, meaning lower astral beings that tend to like to gather about in such places, for they take advantage of such confusion, and ask that these be removed immediately. And then you begin to send love to that one, and as you do, you have a sense that they will come out of it, and you send them that strong message. In a sense, that's all you've got to do right there. I suggest you distance yourself when you can, for I tell you, such things don't generally go away immediately. And so if you stay in the neighborhood, they're bound to strike at you sooner or later. You shall be encountering insanity in your politicians. They'll speak right into the television camera and say things that, well, as I say, the whole world will know are crazy. You might say it's happened already. You'll see insanity in those very often who are your so-called superiors, or anyone who might appear to be in a position of authority above you, unless that one truly be only in that position because of their spiritual attainment. Anything else is subject to infiltration. You understand? Very good. We continue. You shall find it, unfortunately, my dears, and again, please, no paranoia, at times in those very, very close to you, the closest. And to these, of course, you must be the most compassionate. You'll find that from time to time you'll all be insane. I dare say. I can't see an exception here. The lot of you. Mad as goons, everyone. But again, I say it not mockingly, you know that. I only say that you might catch the gist of what I'm trying to get across, that you'll have to laugh at yourselves. You'll know, that's the difference. You will know that you're insane, whereas mostly the insane do not. And therein lies the difference, my dears. Truly the big difference, right there. You'll know, for the moment you say or do that thing that brands you as the crazy, you'll know it. You'll brand yourself. Without a moment's hesitation, I should hope. You go, there you go, off the deep end. You know, even as, and dear ladies, please forgive the analogy, but I'm afraid it serves a purpose. It's become now fashionable for lots of ladies to say, oh, I'm sorry, it's my PMS. Right, don't they? They know, they always knew, that there were certain times of the month where they didn't know why, but they overreacted, or what appeared to be. Truth is, at that time the skin was very thin, so to speak. And so anything that would seem offensive or unjust, they were almost powerless to keep silent about. Perhaps it's a good thing, after all, isn't it? Well, the point being, you see, that is the difference, that those who are, as you all are, and your other dear ones who are not here with us, you'll know when you're acted insanely. And some of you, a very precious few, shall be so blessed as to very, very rarely experiencing or exhibiting anything even akin to something you would call insanity. These ones hold a great responsibility, though, as they shall find out. So, my friends, I'm afraid I must give you this bad news, which is good news, simply because now you know what you hadn't previously. Insanity approaches your planet. Why? Simply because when you are engulfed in a fog, you seek the light intuitively. You must. It's your way out, isn't it? So when insanity engulfs a planet and people begin to get the gist of it and sense it, they seek their sanity, which is only found in their divinity. Some of you are not comfortable with that word, divinity. You rather flinch, I believe. I can only attribute this to not having visited your celestial parent any time recently. I suggest you do so. Listen your heart and thoughts. Dear ones, what you've seen is only the beginning, I'm afraid. Only the beginning. So, expect it. Know that it cometh. It should be unrealistic to think it won't. But know this, you'll not yourselves get caught or lost in it, even though you might temporarily slip just a bit, as one might walking through a large place of mud. They might slip into the pothole. It doesn't mean they're drenched in the stuff. Neither shall you be. Regain your balance as you can. Take a bit of leisure. Get away from whatever it is that's most stressful at the time, if you can. But more than anything, call to the great lords of mind. That's what they're called, the lords of mind. These great beings, shall we say, focus the mind of God, to put it, well, I should say, metaphorically, but at the same time quite literally. What we're saying to you, friends, is that don't be overwhelmed by the insanity that's about to overwhelm the planet. Know it for what it is. When it might play through you, know that as well. Feel not ashamed of it, neither reprimand your loved ones when they exhibit it, but help each other get through it as best as you can. But always remember that whilst the insane are insane, always temporary, they may not know what they do, and they might strike out at you. So beware. Put yourself not in that position, for I tell you it can create a rift and a resentment that might take a long time to heal. Take care. Know that it's as if a plague of a very physical nature were about to, strike, and it should cause people to have temporary dementia. They should go crazy, do whatever, throw something at you. Know that it's temporary and that it passes, and after that you should be so happy to have your loved ones back, safe and sane, for then we shall have passed through that photon belt that is the acceleration itself. That is the thing that is going to cause this insanity that we are already beginning to pass through. That, my dear friends, when it passes, and it won't be that long as, shall I say, time would go, years would go, very few. Then you'll come out to a sane world, and won't that be lovely, really? You'll all be so happy. For those who insist on insanity shall have gone with the insanity. Swept off the planet, I say. So you see, my dears, it's one of those terrible filters that I'm afraid you must all pass through, and it just might get snagged on your own garments here and there, so what? You'll not get combed out, for you're not knots or tangles, but you're instead there, oil in the hair of the Divine Mother. Slide on through, dear ones. Glide through the ocean of insanity. Beware to not allow the vipers of insanity to strike at you too many times. And think not, oh, I can take it, I'll stay right here. Well. Such foolishness, I'm afraid, has been rewarded by a gravestone. So, dears, don't overestimate yourselves. And don't underestimate insanity. And perhaps more than anything, don't underestimate the fact that there is such a loving one that is always what you feel as your true self, that is intimately taking your next breath very consciously for you, that being of which you are but a molecule, a part in a cell, is not about to cast you away, but is pulling you through this thing called the veil of insanity. That sanity, coming from the word sane, which means sane or healthy, shall be the natural state of things as it truly is in the fourth dimension, which is where we shall be when the process is complete. God bless you, my friends. Again, forgiveness for having had to gaze at me at all. But I tell you, I have not in even a little bit regretted gazing at you. God bless you. I'm left with something to add to this, and it would be this. It's a thought that was left in my head, and it's something about it's a right brain, I can't turn it into words. Hold on. Oh, that apparently we all knew
before, probably before being born or something, that this was going to happen. This thing that he's talking about, we knew it, and that provisions were made for it, and the provisions were that we ourselves programmed ourselves subconsciously to move through it easily, pretty much, like not a real serious problem, but that we would need a wake-up call. We would need somebody to come in and out. Okay, this is it. Remember what I told you about? This is the crazy days. And that's what he did. That's what it's about. So, it's not like he came, I mean, he gave us things to do and suggestions and whatnot, but it's not like he came and said, here, I'm here to fix the insanity, because he can't. It's not in his power to do that. Nor do I think, would he, is the way he's getting across it. Because no, he wouldn't. Even if it wasn't his power, because he sees the value in it and the purpose and all that stuff. So really, we all got to go through this crazy time. But I think what the idea is that, aside from anything he said, that we need to just know in a way that we will, go through it, but know that we've made provisions, each one of us, each in our own way, for ourselves, but we just needed to hear the words that he said tonight. And that so-called gifts he said that he came bearing were like, God, this is kind of hard, like, gosh, how does this say this? Shucks. This is not physical, obviously. He did like a form of psychic surgery on everybody. He connected with everybody here and did some adjustment in consciousness, completely apparently with our consent somewhere, at some level of our being. That he did something. He touched each person here. And that doesn't just mean us here physically, but the people who are here in spirit, and there's quite a few. He reached out and touched everybody somehow. But it was almost like pressing everyone's start button, like go 1%, start, like that. Activate. That's really what I think he did. I didn't see him do it, but that's what I'm getting that he did, and that's why he said to look at him.